Welcome in part 2, Cannabiz Conversations with Nahtal from Sorting Robotics. If you missed the first half, do both of us a favor. Pause it right here, head back, check that out, because the story that he tells us about how he got to where we are today is worth watching more than once. So even if you have watched it, go back, check it out again. As always, I'm grateful to my sponsor, Damian Solomon Nutrients. The guy's been a great partner to us since we started. It means a lot to have his logo up here in the corner and his support at the show. So please, if you get a chance and you're wondering how I can grow bigger, better plants of anything, I don't care what they are. The guy did not start in cannabis. He started in veg and made cannabis that much better. Head over ksolomonag.com. Check out more about what he's doing. As always, thank you to him. Nohtal, you kind of teased us at the end about what you're doing next, the next steps of robotics and cannabis. And honestly, I was a little intimidated to take this meeting. So when Michael from the PR Cannabis, Nohtal, what's the actual name of that business? I always forget. Let's drop that apart.
Oh, Mike's at Green Lane Communications.
Green Link, right?
Yep, Green Lane.
Green Lane Communications. Yep. Thank you. I always forget. When he reached out to me and we were talking about, I said, hey, what do you got? And he says, well, this is awesome. Like I said, I'd already heard your name, but given your background, I was slightly intimidated because, as stated, I am not an educated dude from that perspective. And you are, but talking to you, if I didn't know your background, and this is going to sound really bad, and I apologize to anyone who might be offended, but knowing your background, you're just like an everyday dude. Like I don't feel like you are a genius, as I know now that you are. So thank you for just, for being someone who's just trying to make the world a better place.
Yeah, why not?
See? That's what I'm talking about, folks, right there. All right, so we ended last episode talking a little bit about how you got to your space now in Sorting Robotics. What is the next step? What is it that to you will be sort of your next foray?
Yeah, so we left off kind of briefly talking about JICA and people getting weird looks, or people giving us weird looks like, why are you doing this? And that was interesting. And the whole reason why we made that specific machine was because I was running this co-packing company, and a customer came to us that we were already making pre-rolls for them. We were packaging their eighths and whatever. And they said, hey, can you make a fuzzy style joint? This is 2020, right? There's no Jeters. There's like tarantula, and we're in California. So there's tarantula and fuzzies. Those are the only two joints that are really infused with anything at all. And they're all keef coated. But, now people are trying to say like, oh, maybe I'll mix in some THCA into the flower. Maybe I'll mix in some keef to kind of up the THC percentage. And that's kind of what people were trying to figure out what to do. And so they said to me, hey, can you make us some fuzzy style joints? And I tried to make them. I used their SOPs as this customer was already doing. And it just ended up being a mess. There was so much spillage. There was so much waste. We ended up actually running out of materials before we finished the batch, and we just told them, we're like, yeah, we just did what you told us, but I don't know what happened. And when we went back and tried to figure out, it's like, yeah, they wanted 100 milligrams of keef on it, but we ended up putting 130 on all the joints. But it's not like it was, you can't really tell 30 milligrams of keef, right? It's very
no. I mean, no, especially to me, is it a dry measurement? Like my wife's always talking about with baking versus a liquid measurement. What are we talking about here? How are we really going to get to this? And honestly, when it comes to crazes, I don't get that one. I just don't. It's just messy for me on the back half when I go to light it, or it's in my fingers, or whatever the case is. And most of it, because of the way you have to package this shit, comes off in the packaging anyway. So I can't imagine the amount of waste you have. Because imagine, again, I have a grinder, right? It's happened to everybody here where you think the bottom of your grinder is connected. You go to pick it up, it's not, and you spill it. I think, oh shit, what have I done? You're doing this at scale, just dumping keef all over the warehouse floor, basically. For what? For an extra. Just talk to me about this if you can, Nohtal, because I'm a numbers guy. I'm a data nerd. What are we trying to increase our sell percentage at here, whether it be by total items? Was the price of the joint going to go up by $1? I mean, how do we even make sense of trying to go down this road to be this guy? Does that move the margin that much to dip it in keef?
It can double it. It can double the top line. Like if you sold even today, if you go to California market, any dispensary in California, you look at a 1 gram joint, prices are pretty low these days. Maybe a 1 gram joint from like a good flower that's not just like some nasty trim like house brand or whatever. If it's like a good brand with like good flower, a 1 gram joint, it's gonna cost you like 10 or 12 bucks. Like maybe not out the door, like pre-tax. Let's say 10 bucks pre-tax. But if you get a 1 gram that's then coated in bubble hash or coated in keef or coated in THCA, that $10 joint can go to like $18 or $20.
Okay, so there's a reason for the headache. There's a reason to approach guys like you to say, can we figure this out? Can we be better? But I also like that part of the story, and I think it's lost on a lot of entrepreneurs, that the way I've grown my company has been self-funded, but more importantly has been by the repeat referral and needs of my current clients, right? And that is what has propelled us to the last decade, is clients come to us and they say, hey man, can you do this? Or can you create this? Or can you fix this problem? And that's what we've become. We've become a problem-solving organization. You're doing the same thing, only with fucking robots. So like, it's just mind-blowing to think of, because at manufacturing at scale, let's face it, robots are going to be able to do things that humans either aren't, or they're going to be doing it more efficiently. And I know that upsets people. There's plenty of jobs in the cannabis industry. We're not putting people out of work. We're simply moving them to someone more effective. And I say that full well knowing that if anyone's seen the recent report from McDonald's, that is exactly what they have done. Everyone was concerned that McDonald's is going to get rid of all their young employees by having the self-service. And all they've done is reassign them to cleaning, cooking, and having people have better shifts. So just don't get all weirded out about robots and shit. And it's going to be fine. It's going to make us all more efficient. I promise. So Nahtal, what did you, with what you learned, you burned through, as you said, product you were not able to fulfill based on SOP, which everyone loves a good SOP. Turns out doesn't really matter all the time. It's not a great, if the process isn't great, I don't give a shit if you document it. So let's be clear about that. Documenting bad ideas.
That's a good point. Yeah. So, you documented not a great process.
Yeah, not a great process. All right. So what happens then?
So what happened then was I, went back on the robotics side of things and I said, first off, I said, we're never co-packing keef roll joints ever again. Like that's a hard no. And then I said, okay, we need to figure out how to automate this infusion, because that's what they wanted. They had 0 infused SKUs and they just said, okay, give me a fuzzy style joint. And so we said, okay, cool, let's figure out a way to robotically do this. And that's when we said to our customers, we asked that customer and a few other customers, we said, okay, I'm gonna make a robotic infusion machine. Should I make a machine that keef coats joints? Every single operator said no. They said, why would you make a machine that keef coats joints? It's not even in the joint. Like, what's the point of that? That's dumb. Don't do that. And it's messy and da 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 da. Like, don't do that. Don't do that. Get it in the joint. If you can get it in the joint, people will actually smoke it. It will actually taste good. And all this other thing. And the rest said, okay, cool. So we made Gico, which injects it in the joint to like have a perfect, nice little core of concentrate that, year 1, people were confused. Year 2, people kind of got it. And year 3, people copied us. Right. And so that's why we made Gico. But then now we come year 3, Jeters is the leader in every market that they're in. And Steezy is maybe second in every market that they're in, if not the leader. They all run keef-coated joints. Everyone and their mother that has pre-rolls as a SKU has a keef-coated SKU as well, because you just need that offering. And personally, like, am I a huge keef-coated joint guy? Not really. I way more prefer like hash bowls and like stuff like that. Like I think those are really cool. But that's not what the customers are asking. The customers want a visual infusion, the visual appeal. And like, does it look kind of cool? Yeah, it looks kind of cool. The manufacturing of it's a nightmare, but it does look kind of cool, right? And it gives you that kind of vibe. And do you smoke it all? Does it go inside your lungs? Not most of it, but some of it still does, right? And does it give that THC boost? Yeah, it can give that THC boost. And so what we had 3 years after GCO, or I guess 2.5 years after GCO last year, I had my customers that had the GCO and they were infusing it down the center. And then they were keep coating the joints because they weren't getting the sell through that the keef coated joints had. And they just wanted to and they're, maybe this isn't the best for the industry, but they're all chasing a higher and higher THC percentage number. So people are like, yeah, now I want my joints to be over 40%. And if I inject it with the GCO, I can only get to like 35 or 38 or something like that. So now I want to keef coat it. So now it's going to be 45 or 50%. Is that a good joint to smoke? That's debatable. Probably by everybody, right? But
Yeah, for sure.
but yeah, so that's kind of where it came from, and then that's why we started making Starbucks.
Wow, man. Coming up. Well, look, I know that we have a little bit of a time crunch on us here today, as it were, and we only have a few minutes left, but I want to get into the Schedule 3 piece. So let's just play a quick game. I'm going to say a word. You're going to give me what you think off the top of your head, and we're just going to rip. So here it goes.
Sure, okay.
Schedule 3.
Finance.
Finance?
Yeah.
Finance. Interesting. So with finance comes what? Do you see more red tape, or do you see the ability to get more of finance? And when you say that, is it a unlocking of that? Is that what that allows for?
It's unlocking of 280E. 280E is probably I'm not sure if this is like a universally accepted fact, but 280E, I would say, is the number one cause of majority of the friction inside the cannabis industry. I think if you took away 280E tomorrow, cannabis would be 50% easier.
I think it would be easier, and I think it would be, from an entrepreneurial standpoint, you would see, I think, a smaller failure rate. I still think the failure rate is high because people come here expecting to print gold bars the second they arrive because it's cannabis. And I think that a lot of people come misfunded. And by misfunded, I think you could be overfunded and think that you're successful and you burn through your money and you're not. And I think you could be, underfunded and have a good idea and just not be able to get off the blocks, right? So we see all of that. But as entrepreneurs, and I don't know if because of the way that you have your company set up, if you suffer from the same issue, right? But I do not. I'm an entrepreneur who runs an automotive tech data company. And so we do what we do. And I have all the write-offs. I'm going to be going to Benzinga in Chicago before this airs. And I will have written that off as a part of my own company's, write-off list of things to do. The people who are there can't necessarily write their booths off. They can't necessarily get into things. It's pretty crazy to think about what I would do if I couldn't write things off, man.
Yeah, you wouldn't make any money. That's
I wouldn't spend it. That's for fucking sure. You know what I mean? Like I would have my pennies together. Like, I don't know. I don't think this is worth it. Right? Where now I'm like, hey, take a risk, write it off. If we lose, everyone needs a good write-off. That's only funny for entrepreneurs who aren't in the cannabis industry. It isn't that funny to them, which, this is the whole thing that sucks, right? I got into this 04, 05. 06, I launched my first cannabis company. It was called, do I still have it here? Is it still underneath? No. It was called Green Biz Done Better. We were helping dispensaries get websites and helping them get online. Google loved us. I walked into Chase Bank with deposits. I mean, it was natural living life. It was no big fucking deal. And then all of a sudden, when recreational came, everyone had to get serious or whatever. Things had to change. And it was just way cooler with Colorado Medical, man. We were caregivers. So whatever we didn't have for our patients, we sold to dispensaries, walking in with jars, cracking them, sniffing them, tasting them, talking about what I like, that's the coolest part of the fucking industry. We're not there anymore. Do you deschedule? I say that? What do you say?
Hopefully. That's my one word response. I think there's been a hubris of the medical program, right? Because it wasn't like alcohol prohibition, where people went from it destroy prohibition. Prohibition's bad. Prohibition leads to crime. Da 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 da. It was the cry from cannabis for 40 years has been, this is a medical product. it has medical uses, and that's been kind of the bureaucratic route that the industry has followed, and you got what you asked for. Right?
It only ends in one place, people. I don't know what to
Yeah.
tell you. And I agree. It is a plant of medicine. Yes, yes, yes. But when they go and they say, well, then we should put it with other medicines, and you go, well, hold on, that's not what I meant. That's where the issue to me ends up. Look, I get the fear of big pharma. I do.
I get it too.
Totally hate big pharma. I think we can all agree there are better routes, but you need the finance to look into more research. You need the finance to grow. You need the opportunity to be able to be in a better position. Descheduling would be wonderful. I don't think this government, and I don't give a shit who's sitting there. Let's make that very clear. I don't think anyone gets that from the perspective of the users, because I found it recreationally. I ended up using it medically. And to this day, that's how I try to use it. Some days, maybe
I think
not.
a lot of people are in that same boat too, or like I found it recreationally, and like it's like I don't want to take Ambien. Ambien sucks, but you know what does work for me? Okay, this is like a plug, but like Pop and Barkley 4 milligram CBN, CBD, THC gummies. Those work like a charm. Like they're just the best ones I've tried, and it's not super expensive. It's not going to give me some like, I don't have like weird side effects that I might have if I try like these other, prescription, come on, right? Like, so there's much better ways to use the plant. And I think, and I'm like a huge proponent of it. And I agree with you. We need more research. I would love to get a government grant to do research on rosin. I got a ton of rosin friends, and we use it all the time, and we don't know anything about it.
Nothing. We
Nothing.
don't know enough about any of it because we haven't been able to research it, man. Look, I want to be respectful of your time today. So why don't we wrap it up by you telling folks where they can find you and what you're up to, at the newest of your projects here.
Cool. So I would say right now we actually have a crowdfunding campaign going. So if anyone believes in improving efficiencies in the cannabis industry and supporting a robotics company, and you want to kind of ride the wave that we're building, go over to WeFunder, type in Sorting Robotics, and we're doing a crowdfunding campaign to kind of fill the growth and allow us to bring more of these machines to more people and improve the efficiencies. If you want to reach out to me directly, I'm on LinkedIn, just LinkedIn/Nahtal. So
that makes it easy, man. Well, thank you so much for your time. We really do appreciate it. Thank you to our sponsor today, King Solomon Nutrients, Damien Solomon, 20 years of absolute expertise in this matter, whether it's soil, whether it's hydro, whether it's small grow, big grow, my man Damien gets it done. Head over to ksolomonag.com. Check them out. As always, remember, folks, we appreciate the support of the show. The goal of this show is to remove the stigma and uplift this plant to its rightful place in society. We appreciate everyone's efforts in doing so. Nohtal, thanks a lot for your time, man. Your story is absolutely incredible. I can't wait to share it with everybody.
Thanks, man. It was a pleasure being here.
Thank you, and we'll see you next week for the season 2 finale with a special guest that everybody has been waiting to hear from. Thanks a lot. Have a great week.
See you.